For months, Flanders Fields had known nothing but war. On the Western Front, the trenches snaked almost 500 miles from the Swiss border to the North Sea. Young Europeans were locked in a death grip, living day to day in the muck and filth of trench warfare. For months, hopeful optimists from both sides had been repeating the sentiment that the war would be over by Christmas. They were wrong. The war would rage on for years yet. There was something significant that happened during the Christmas of 1914, though. Something strange and rare among the wars of history. This event didn't begin with rifle fire or officers shouting orders. Instead, it began with a song. On Christmas Eve, late in the day from across the battle lines, English soldiers heard the soft melody of Silent Night being sung in its original German tongue. The British soldiers sat quietly listening in the safety of their fortifications. The tune drifted over the wire warm and bright, strange against the gloom and despair. Slowly, a few British voices began joining in with Silent Night. Others followed. By the time the last verse faded, men on both sides were standing, heads just visible above the defenses. More songs followed, along with taunts and jokes being traded between the two opposing lines. Marmaduke Walkington, a British soldier who was there that day, recounted this. "We were in the front line. We were about 300 yards from the Germans. We'd been singing carols and this and that and the other, and the Germans had been doing the same. And we'd been shouting to each other. Sometimes rude remarks, more often just jokes. When finally a German called out, 'Tomorrow, you no shoot, we no shoot.'" Apparently, this proposal vocalized what many of the men had been thinking. When morning arrived, men who had been trying to kill one another for weeks were shaking hands in the no man's land between their defensive positions. They traded cigarettes, chocolate, bread, and champagne. Someone from the German line produced a football, and soon the frozen field became what one of the soldiers referred to as a kickabout. Laughter sprang up where screams had been. The soldiers enjoyed one another's company, and even more the relief that came from briefly putting the war on hold. As the day ended, they worked to give proper burials to one another's dead. Then, as the dusk fell, they returned to their trenches. A few men waved farewell. A few couldn't bear to look back. The truce only lasted for a day and a half, but for one Christmas in 1914, the light of Christendom shone bright on the battle-wrecked fields of Europe. For a short time, the men of the West remembered that they were brothers beneath the kingship of the Savior who was born of a virgin in humble stable centuries before. On this episode of the Hard Men Podcast, we dive into family traditions, why they're important, how they shaped us, and what we want to pass on to our children. All right, guys, welcome back to the Hard Men Podcast. My name is Tate Taylor. I'm here, as always, with Pastor Ethan Sin. I think you're pretty excited about this one. Seems like it.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of sparked the idea, but I thought it was like a cool thing to talk about traditions and what are the things that our families have done over the years, what are the things we're doing. And then we had the idea to do an episode on gifts as well. What are some good gifts you can give your kids, different ages, or your wife, or what are things, she can give you, or friends or coworkers, or, things like that. And so we're going to do that in the Brutal American after this and just kind of wrap it all up into one Christmas episode.
Yeah, so that was actually a listener request, maybe a listener's wife that requested this, but someone messaged us on Instagram, was like, "Hey, I don't know what to get my husband for Christmas. Like, he listens to the show. Could you guys please do like some sort of like gift list so that I know what to get him?" So we'll do that in the Patreon show. If you hear some loud noises on this one, you may not be able to hear it. We don't know, but there are boys deadlifting right on the other side of this wall next to us, so it might be loud. But it's just the nature of productive, Christian boroughs being built. There's a lot going on. So
it's been fun just thinking about this episode and thinking back on the traditions. I asked my parents, like, what are the things we did? Why do we do them? I asked my grandmother, and so it's just been fun, like gathering some of that data. Like, you forget so much, but then the memories come like flying back at you. So it's been fun putting this together.
Yeah, should be a good one. This is one of the longer outlines we've ever had, like preparing for a podcast. So should be fun. I threw this in there because it was something that was always a point of contention when I was growing up, and we didn't do it. Like my parents didn't enforce this. They didn't like hate it or anything. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
if they hate it or not. They would say they didn't hate it or anything, but it's just not something we did. But I'm curious what your experience with this has been. I never believed in Santa Claus. Like, I don't remember believing that Santa Claus was a real thing.
Which I think would probably be a rarity among our generation. Probably most people our age, parents did some semblance of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't until my wife and I got married and we had kids that we decided, no, we're not going to do that. I think there was a lot of stuff at the time. I think Piper did some, articles on this, but just like a lot of that young restless reformed camp was talking about, should you do Santa Claus? Should you not? What are the reasons for that? No, we definitely did growing up. I wrote some notes on that on like our traditions, but everything from like putting out cookies for Santa and milk. And there were years when, at school we made like reindeer dust to attract the reindeer, tell them where they need to land, and we lived in like a, Cape Cod, and like, remember asking like, whoa, how's Santa going to land on a roof? It's like got like a 30-degree peak, like, we don't have a chimney. Like,
how do these physics work out?
Yeah. So, we set up the runway for him in the front yard so he could still, make it. But no, it got intense some years. Like our neighbor would dress up as Santa, and like Christmas Eve would show up after we had gone to bed, and like, we'd hear the bells and come down and he'd give us a gift and we'd open it. And one year it was really funny. My brother, the neighbor's name was Chris. My brother goes back to bed later and he goes, Santa and Chris have the same watch. And he was like 3 or something.
He's paying attention.
Yeah, it was funny. It was a fun thing we did growing up, but no, we decided as my wife and I, that it wasn't something we were going to continue. And I think, it's not that we hate the tradition or think nobody can do it, or if you're a Christian, you couldn't possibly do it. But it was more of like, it's just a major distraction for what we should be doing,
right?
In that time of year. And so why do we, put all this focus on, okay, you better be good, or Santa's not going to bring you any gifts, like,
which is always an idle threat.
It's an idle threat. Santa's bringing gifts, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever brought any kid coal, but it just is mainly a distraction from what we should be focusing on. We've try to spend more time on the Advent season and doing Advent devotionals for family worship, and it's been really good and really fruitful, and we like the traditions that we're doing. So it wasn't something we hated or anything like that, but just something we opted out of.
It was always, I came to this reasoning early. Like I think my parents were probably listening to a lot of that same young restless reform stuff, but I don't know if that was really the impetus for them not doing it. I think it was one of those things that my dad was just kind of like, in the most winsome way possible. He was like, I'm not going to lie to my kids. Like, I'm not going to create this special category where I get to lie to my kids for months on end. And then like, it's okay. It's fun.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just not doing that. And so I don't know. That's always been the reasoning that I've adopted. It makes sense to me. And it was something that, it was funny, like some of the Christmases that we went to, we lived close to a bunch of family. Some of them, it was a big thing, and it was sort of like, hey, we get it. Like, you guys aren't doing that, but like, don't ruin it for everyone. Yeah. Like, okay, fine. Like, we're not just going to be curmudgeons about everything, but also at the same time, like, I never thought that any of the gifts that I ever received came from anyone other than the people that bought them.
Gave them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny now, like my kids will be at the grocery store in December, and, the clerk or somebody will be like, what did Santa bring you? Or have you, and, the kids will be like, Santa's not real.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. But I think that's probably been asked to my daughter a lot more than it's been asked to my son at this point. But, my wife's at the store with the kids, and that's always the thing. It's like, someone sees them and they're like, oh, you have cute kids. Have you been good? Is Santa bringing you presents? And, my daughter kind of like looks at my wife and is like, what is this person talking about?
It's funny.
It's always makes for interesting interactions.
I think there are a lot of reasons not to. I think when we are taking seriously that season of life, that season of the year that God gives us to celebrate and like focus on the Advent, first and second Advent of Christ. It is a distraction, right? If all we're talking about is what's Santa going to bring you, like it does take away from like what are we actually celebrating and talking about, and like Deuteronomy 6 kind of stuff. It's almost it's like a huge downgrade to what we should be celebrating, right? Like the magnitude of Christ coming, his incarnation, like, and now we're talking about like an elf who's going to bring you gifts. Like, it's just like a huge downgrade. What is it, Lewis, who talks about like you're like playing in mud pies when you can't imagine a vacation at the sea. It's like that kind of like magnitude of like why would you replace it with something so much worse?
Yeah, it's I've always viewed it that way. There's so much genuine magic in Christmas, in the incarnation of Christ. You don't actually have to add to it. Like it's enough on its own. But it's just been here recently that we've gotten into some of the Advent stuff. And I know we're going to talk about some of that, but I think we're gradually kind of working away from like, we're just not doing that. We're just going to do Christmas to, there's actually a bunch of other things that we can do proactively and like in a positive direction, move towards, rather than just we're going to negatively stay away from these things that we don't think are as optimal.
100%. That's a lesson you could apply to every facet of life. It's not just not doing the wrong thing, but then you actually have to replace it with the right thing, right? You have the example in the New Testament of like the guy that sweeps the house and then 7 more demons come back worse, like, pride and all these other things. You actually have to do the good thing, not just not do the bad thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, first question you have here: why are family traditions important? That's what we're here to talk about. Christmas traditions, holiday, traditions throughout the year, seasons, and I think you could apply that to Easter and Thanksgiving and all these things that we celebrate. And you could get way into like what did the Reformers celebrate? What was the Christian calendar like then, and go all the way there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But today, specifically like Christmas traditions, Advent traditions, why are they important?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what kind of is the driving force behind this? Like why do we need traditions at all? You could drive into the ditch of, this is the solas. And like, why do we need anything more than scripture? Like, why can't we just read scripture and like it be enough? And why do we need to even acknowledge some sort of holiday around, the incarnation of Christ and the virgin birth? Why wouldn't it just be a normal Sunday kind of a thing? Like, why is it so important that we do more than that? Why is it important that we adorn the calendar with more than just the basics?
Well, I do think the way that God made the world with seasons, and most places I've ever lived have some kind of seasons, right? It's hot in the summer and cold, or snows in the winter, and you have spring and you have fall and things die, and things get reborn, and you have this normal rhythm of life as part of the way God created the world. And so I think recognizing that and taking the time to behave properly during those times, like it's like there are seasons of rest and seasons of really hard work, and when you're really grinding, and you can't just be at 110% running all the time. And so, it's it's a great time of the year to catechize the kids, to remind them this is, what it's all about, right? This is why we go to church every Sunday, and this is why we do family worship, and this is why we sing hymns and psalms, and this is why we, are members at our church and submit to the elder. Like all the things are, find their basis in this season. And so it's a nice time that happens every year. It's like a rhythm of life to take time to actually appreciate it, teach our kids, catechize them, train them up in the way they should go. And it gives us things to look forward to as well.
I think that last part's really important too. There's something to just like the Christian life is meant to be filled with joy. And I think that one of the greatest states of joy that you could be in is to be full of positive anticipation.
Yeah.
Like the looking forward to this event that's coming, that is going to be a highlight of the year or even like just this season of life.
Yeah.
I think that those things are extremely important. I think that's a really useful principle in almost every scenario, from like raising your children and teaching them that this longer forecasted vision forward is really important. We can be anticipatory about things that are months away. Everything doesn't have to be immediate. It's not just like, I can't wait to get out of school today.
Right.
It's more, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we talk about that. Sometimes it's put your head down and like do the work and plod and what's in front of you. But every once in a while, you got to look up and like, what's next? What are we anticipating? What are we looking forward to? And I think there is a good balance in that where it's not just wishing this time away. I wish it was Christmas Day so I would get a bunch of gifts, but looking forward to the right things too. About look, we're having these parties with our friends, and we get to do the Christmas candlelight service that only happens once a year, and we get to sing these carols that we don't sing the rest of the year, and just all the things that are special because they're not constant.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. You can apply that. I mean, this is Hardman Podcast. You can apply that in so many areas. I think that one of the most important things that I figured out in my adult life was that I could set goals for myself in like fitness or strength or whatever, and set like a forecasted vision and a goal for 4 months away, and then really focus on getting ready for that for a period of time. And that is one of the most productive things that I've found, rather than just going, I'm just going to do this program. I just need a squat program, so I'm just going to do this 8-week squat program. Instead of just doing that, setting some sort of like monumental goal. I'm going to sign up for a race. I'm going to sign up for a powerlifting competition. I'm going to sign up for an event, and then work towards that for 3 to 4 months. There's something about the anticipation of an actual event that spurs you on to much deeper levels of drive and determination and joy too.
Yeah. Like when you're in high school or college or you're playing sports, you have that goal, you have that end in mind. We want to win. We want to go to state. We want to win championships, whatever. When you're working out after that, you don't have those things, right? It's like, I don't want to be fat or I want to be stronger, but like you don't have that end. And so it becomes a lot harder to say like, why are we here?
Exactly. Yeah. You kind of lose the why and the purpose behind it. So I think these are really important just for the sake of that. Like like you said, going through the seasons of life, having something to anticipate, something to look forward to, something to be working towards.
And it works against our ideas that are like so ingrained today of like immediate gratification.
Right.
Like I want something, so I order it on Amazon. I have it, tomorrow or tonight. Like it works against that immediate gratification to have something like, nope, this is coming. It hasn't happened yet. And like that hopeful anticipation is like a good, that's the way the world works. So it's like a good reminder to be back in that frame of mind with anything.
So you mentioned here one of the reasons this is important is because of catechesis. So how do family traditions, specifically around Christian holidays, contribute to that catechizing of your children?
Yeah. So I think the content of how you do it matters. Like we're going to talk about some of the Advent books that we've used over the years and ones we found really helpful. But just being in that rhythm of daily family worship can be really helpful in this. And then being focused, hey, right now we're going to talk about Advent, and we're going to talk about Christmas, and we're going to talk about Easter at Easter time, or, leading up to that. And I think that being able to focus on those specific, because like you could just go through the Bible and you might not get to this every couple years, right? But having that repetition every year and that specific reminder of the gravity and the importance of what we're doing, what we're celebrating, what happened, what we're remembering is just, I think, really helpful. But then as well, the way you do it with warmth, the way you do it with joy, it catechizes in a different way because it teaches the kids like, this is great, this is fun, this is joyful, this is a fond memory, and it's something that they're going to want to continue. So it's a part of the winning of the heart.
Absolutely. It also is setting an example of like, how do you want to conduct things when you become a father or a mother someday? When you're a husband or a wife, how are you going to operate in your household? What kind of joyfulness, what kind of anticipation are you going to have in like this positive vision for the future? To give an example, like this morning, I got up and I read first, I finished Sproul first, and then I went for a run. And I got back to the house, and the only thing that my 3-year-old son could talk about is going for a run. And he doesn't have any idea what that means.
He just knows he wants to do it because you did it.
He just saw me do it, and then me come back. My shirt's soaking wet because I'm sweaty and I'm nasty, but I'm like glad that I went and did it. And he can just tell I should go do that. And so we went for a little run, and he is just like over the moon.
Is that his new thing? It's not fishing anymore. Now it's running.
It's like, literally whatever we're doing. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how this works, right?
That's exactly how this works. This works in exactly the same way. If you're excited for Christmas, your children are going to be excited for Christmas. You don't have to go out of your way and make up fake things in order for that to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this idea as well in this tradition, like we have been raised in a certain way with the kind of secular holidays and it's all very much like happy holidays and whichever you celebrate, Kwanzaa and, whatever the other holidays are like that, Hanukkah, it is not, the holidays, like we're here to celebrate a holiday. Right. Yeah. And just the way that words have transformed meaning, like the left has taken these words. We used to mean happy holidays to mean Thanksgiving through New Year were like the holidays that Christians were celebrating. Now we mean like anybody's holidays without exception and everybody's included and all that stuff is like, you have an ability to depart from what's normal and secular, these secular days and secular celebrations and focus on, no, these are the religious Christian things that we're celebrating. And, I don't know what I've thought over the years about, it's really common Christian thing to say like the clerk at the grocery store says happy holidays and you say Merry Christmas. And, in some ways it's always struck me as kind of rude, to like correct like you're kind of correcting somebody. But at the same time, it's like they're saying it's propaganda. They're saying it because they don't want to offend anybody or their work says they have to say that to be inclusive. It's like, I actually, in thinking about this, I am far more on the side of like, no, we're here to celebrate Christmas. And, I'm not saying happy holidays to not offend anybody or like if somebody gets offended, like that's okay.
You're in the wrong place.
It's kind of like the going in a gas station wearing a mask. Like the first person that does it is contagious, right? This kind of that courageous contagion.
Yep.
Where it, you once you realize, oh, actually it's fine to do this and nobody died, then maybe that person will catch on and be like, you're right. I'm not here to celebrate Kwanzaa. I'm here to celebrate, Christmas. So I'm going to say Merry Christmas.
One of the chapters in one of the books that you're going to talk about is Christmas as a declaration of war.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what he's talking about.
Is that Doug's book?
I think it is Doug's book. I've read it. I think you have it listed in here somewhere.
Yeah.
But he has a chapter on Christmas as a declaration of war. And it's okay if someone takes offense at that. It's actually quite natural because it is genuinely offensive to the world. The message of Christ is genuinely offensive. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be the message of Christ. And so the fact that there was a savior born into the world to take on the sins of the world and make atonement for it and win it as his kingdom for his glory and rule over it as a king is offensive to everyone who would stand in opposition to that.
Yeah.
It's just an offensive thing. We have to just stop being so thin-skinned about it and be okay with being offensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to actually go that far out of your way to say that.
It's not that hard.
No.
But it's another one of those muscles where if we're not flexing them, like when the next thing comes that is harder, like we're not going to be practiced and we're certainly not going to do that thing.
Yeah. It's the same. We've talked about courage a lot recently. The Chesterton quote, the Lewis discussing the fact that, we create men without chest and then expected them virtue and enterprise. But one of my favorite quotes is, courage can't be left like bones in a box. It must be taken out and shown the light. And if you leave it there untouched for too long, when you need it, it will be gone.
It atrophies.
It atrophies. If you don't use it, it will not sustain itself. You have to use the tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that all of this is an application of Deuteronomy 6. It's talking about it when you go out and when you come in and all the time. Like, are you washing your wife in the water of the word? Are you washing your kids? Are you asking in normal daily life, like, what does God have to say about this? What does the Bible have to say about this? And it's just one of those applications of that. It's a different means of teaching. These traditions are a different means. It's not didactic where I'm just lecturing or I'm just telling my kids this is what this expositing this portion of scripture. Like, it's not didactic in that sense. It's more the experience-based learning where they learn to love what we're doing. This is what our family does. This is how we do it. This is why we do it. And just those different methods of enculturation for the kids, for the family, I think are really effective. And so it gives us an opportunity to win hearts in that sense that you don't always get in every other, season of life.
Exactly. So I think one of the other things, like what are some of the downstream default responses that you want to happen not just with you, but also with your children. I think some of this applies to us too, though. Like affection follows action. So going through the actual execution of these traditions and actually doing these things rather than just talking about them actually wins your own heart as well. But how does that happen? How does that happen with your children as well? And what are kind of the downstream effects of that winning of their hearts?
Well, one of the reasons I think we've talked about why do traditions, but maybe one of the outcomes or things to look forward to is just keeping our kids. We talk about keeping our kids in the faith. We talk about, with our generation, like it's something like 80-90% leave the faith after, like that were raised, in the church, whatever that means, by the first year in college. Like they've departed, they've apostatized. And so one of the things we should always be thinking about is how are we going to keep our kids? How are we going to make sure that they are staying on our shoulders, that they are staying in the faith? And I think traditions is one of those ways to do that. You're winning their hearts. You're celebrating with them. You're teaching them these are the important things and teaching them to love the things that you love. And so it might be starting new traditions that they can carry on, but it's just another, like, we don't want to see them grow up, turn 18, leave the house and say like, yeah, that was fine, but you can take or leave it. You want them to be like, no, that was awesome. I can't wait to do that with my kids. I can't wait to, do these traditions that my parents did, that they got from their parents. Like you want this to be a generational win where you are giving them things to carry on because they're worthwhile, because they're joyful, because they're important, and they have learned to love them in the time that you have raised them.
And I think one of the things to point out here that's really interesting and probably something we don't think very much about is that as you're winning your children, if you do a good job of it and there's something there that they're won to, involving these traditions, obviously the tradition isn't the whole thing, but they're very involved. You're also winning your grandchildren in the process. And even in some cases, you're winning your children's future spouses and you don't realize it. Like, I know that our wives are very attached to the things that our families did growing up. They're very involved and they're like bought into that now.
Yeah, even you probably mean like my wife does traditions that we did.
Exactly.
Right. She has adopted traditions my family did.
Right.
And she has grown to love them and they made them her own.
They're hers now. Yeah. It's the same way in my house. Like my wife does a bunch of the things and very much looks forward to the things that were done in my family growing up and she wasn't there for, but she's been there for, 10 years now and she's seen them and they've won her heart as well. And she wants those things for our children. And so you're not just, so to think of it that way, like the things that my grandparents have been doing for a very long time are winning their great grandkids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way down the line.
And the ditch to avoid, right? You can go through the motions. You can say, we're going to do these things, whatever they are. But if they're cold and you're just, just going through the motions, the vapid, like then it's kind of like, I can take him or leave him. Like why are we doing this? Like dad doesn't care about this. He's just doing it because he thinks it's the right thing to do. Like they can tell. And so there has to be a genuine, like, no, this is important. And this is done warmly and with joy and with, excitement and that the way you do it matters as much as what you do.
Yeah. I think there's a warning here too. I've fallen into this, so I'm kind of talking to myself when I say this, but there's the tendency for men to get pretty, Grinch-ish around this. Like they turn into Mr. Scrooge. They don't want to play games. They don't want to do, whatever thing. There's warnings on both sides. The men have to be willing to be dealers in hope for their families. At the same time, I think wives and mothers have to be careful not to be too hallmarkish about everything, where like everything has to perfectly fit this painted picture in my head 4 months ago. And if we don't do it exactly that way, we failed.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Both of those are ditches that we have tendencies to fall into. And one tends to provoke the other and back and forth. And so like, if you're a husband and father, watch out for that. If you're a wife and mother, watch out for that. Those are things that can kind of derail this stuff and make these traditions feel hollow and pointless. And like it's exasperating rather than something that fills the house with joy.
Yeah, 100%. The only other point I wanted to make on this was we talk about a lot about winning our kids' hearts, right? And that's super important. But I think there is a tendency, and and it's not the soft parenting or the helicopter parenting or anything else like that. It's a genuine, I want to win my kid's heart. But depending on the ages of the kids, respect has to be won first, and respect, and like that, maybe we've talked about this recently, but fear, right? If they don't fear and respect you, and respect your authority and respect your office as parent, then you're not going to win their hearts. Even if you're trying to, like, the respect has to come first. And so I think this is a good opportunity for year round. I mean, the discipline doesn't stop, right? Our kids, are the ages where the discipline is constant, right? Yeah. It doesn't stop, but this is an opportunity to kind of start to dabble in, or like have a actual carved out space to win hearts for children whose respect is won, right? They respect you, they love you, they honor you, and they're being disciplined all the time. And so this is another way to start to win those hearts. But if we get it wrong and we try to win hearts before they respect you, I think you're going to lose both.
Yeah, we did talk about this recently, but just to kind of reiterate, we talked about whether or not children should fear their fathers. And the thing that we discussed was the fact that they should, the same way that we should fear and reverence God the Father. Children, in some respect, obviously to a lesser degree, but should fear and reverence their fathers, especially. They should honor and respect their mothers as well. This is a commandment in Scripture. But it's really important that is there, because the reason that God the Father's loving kindness and his mercy to us is such a big deal is that the opposite is a threat. If he decides not to extend mercy, then wrath is coming. And that's the reason that the mercy is so valuable, is because his wrath is the other option, right? And so there should be some of that with father and son, daughter, dynamics. There should be like we're so glad that our Father is joyful in this way and extends this mercy to us and gives us good gifts and brings this kind of hope and joy into the house, because we also know that he's capable, if we refuse to behave, of none of those things being there, and instead there being discipline in its place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it means so much more when that's a real threat,
an actual threat. That's also why the whole you better act right or you're going to get coal in your stocking thing it needs to be done away with, in my opinion, because you're making an idle threat that is eventually going to be shown to be untrue. It was false. And then now you're left with a child who just doesn't trust any of the things that you say.
Yeah, obviously, if you don't follow through, but even if you did, now it's more of a moralism, where it's like I'm acting right, I'm obeying God's commands so that I get this out of it. It's not done out of love. It's not done because you love your father, you love God. It's done. So what can I get out of it? It becomes a quid pro quo, and that's obviously not within the realm of Orthodox Christianity.
That's a great point.
So with the philosophy of all that, what's the best gift you got as a child? What's the best, most memorable thing when you were growing up? You're like, I distinctly remember that day.
One of the ones that I distinctly remember on a Christmas morning, my grandparents on my mom's side used to have a big house, and there's just enough room for all three of their kids and their spouses and all of my, all of my cousins. So all three generations are there sleeping under one roof on Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas morning, we wake up and we go in and open presents. But they would take it a step further, and all the adults would wake up early and open a bunch of the gifts and set them up so that they were ready to play with when we walked in there. So we weren't like opening boxes for 30 minutes and like
putting in batteries.
Yeah, like clipping zip ties and all of that nonsense. All of that was already done. And we just went to straight to like getting to enjoy our presents. And what would happen was all the cousins would sleep on a giant pallet in my grandparents' bedroom floor. So all of us are in there, there's however many of us laying in the floor, and then we wake up and then they march us down the hallway to the living room in a single file line. And then once you hit the living room, you kind of get to go nuts. And they got me, it was right after Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the film came out, and they got me a Helm's Deep set with like full battlements in the wall and their Uruk-hai and like the whole 9 yards. And I don't remember how old I was, but I thought that was one of the coolest things. It's one of those images that's printed in my mind. But that's like, I get, there were so many of those moments, but that's the one for whatever reason that I just have a picture in my head of.
Yeah. I remember I was probably 5 or 6 and I got a G.I. Joe, right? Like a 12-inch like G.I. Joe. I didn't even know G.I. Joes were a thing. And so to have this like 12-inch like Army man had machine gun, I just thought that was the coolest thing. Like I distinctly remember that.
So both war toys.
War toys, yeah. So fathers, get your boys war toys.
There you go.
In your opinion, what's the best Christmas album?
I saw this earlier and I don't know.
I thought you were going to say Michael Bublé.
Man, I have some answers that I can't give. We were just listening to something the other day by Dustin Kinshrew. If you haven't heard of Dustin Kinshrew, I don't know what he's doing now, but in the past, when I was growing up, we would listen to some of his Christmas stuff during Christmas, and I always enjoyed it.
Yeah, is he country?
It's more of like a acoustic alternative rock. It's a little bit bluesy, country a little bit, but kind of unique and genuinely, like, he's a Christian guy, but he's genuinely a good musician and singer and artist, and like makes pretty cool stuff. So
have you ever heard the Garth album Beyond the Season?
I don't.
It's a Christmas album.
I probably have.
It was one that we played every year growing up, so it's one of those like ingrained. I don't know how good it is objectively, but it's one of those like traditional things. I'm like, every year we got to play this.
For me, the one that's like that is Robert Earl Keen's "Merry Christmas to the Family."
Yeah,
that one's like, I know every word to the entire song.
We always play Elvis Christmas. I like those albums. I like a lot of the more traditional classical Christmas songs.
Yeah.
How about this? Traveling for holidays. Do you guys do it? What are your thoughts on that? Do you go see family? Do they come to you? What do you think is kind of what do you guys do now?
This is a tough question. I really enjoy being with our family for Christmas. Last year we traveled,
with the extended family.
Yeah, with extended family. So we went back to Texas and we were there for almost a month. We were there for a long time. That was the first Christmas since we moved to Utah. So we wanted to go home and spend it with family. This year, that's not going to work out, mainly because of other circumstances. And we're going to have made so many trips in the fall and winter before Christmas gets here that we're not going to be able to do it again for Christmas. But we are going to get to do Christmas with my parents while we're there for something else at the beginning of December. So I'm really excited about that. At the same time, I do want my children to associate Christmas with home. Like, I want them to think of here when they think of Christmas Day. I think that that's extremely important for us, especially because we have so many transplants, us included, people that grew up somewhere else. They weren't born here. They weren't raised here. In order for us to do what we have set out to do in building a Christian borough here and establishing a deeply rooted Christian community and church, the people here need to be rooted in the place. And so I want my children to think of this place when they think of these high points of the calendar year. I want them to think of home. Also, it snows here. And like, we just didn't have very many white Christmases when I was growing up. It just wasn't really a thing. And so I also just, like, from a personal standpoint, think it'd be really cool for us to be able to spend Christmas in the snow. Yeah.
We used to travel when we were first married. We maybe after our second kid was born, we decided, hey, we're going to do holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas at our home. You guys are welcome to come here, parents or brothers, things like that. But I think a couple things. One, it cost me about $4,000 to fly my family across the country right now. And so, like, it's just not, feasible to do a bunch of times a year. But then on top of it, when you are in your home, you have a lot more control over what you do. How do you celebrate Christmas Eve? Are you going to your church's Christmas Eve service with your people? Christmas morning, what does it look like? Like when it's your home, you can impose whatever traditions you want. When you're in your dad's home or your father-in-law's home or whatever, it just becomes more difficult to do it depending on who they are. So I think that for the sake of tradition and being able to be the master of the tradition for your family, I think that does really help that.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe you're in a situation where that tradition is already something that you're bought into and you completely approve of from a convictional standpoint and you love everything about it, then I think great. Like go be a part of that. If this is something you can do with your people in your local area and it still be your family, then best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are probably not in that situation. And so you kind of have to make some tough decisions there.
I also like traveling in the fall or Christmas season, Thanksgiving, or they're always so busy, such busy times that even when we do go see family, they're just like fast and furious and you don't really feel like you get a lot of quality time with people because there's like just event after event after event. And so I like going in the spring or in the fall when less is going on and you can just do more things and spend better. And the time is actually better in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
All right. So growing up, what Christmas traditions did you grow up with?
So this is an interesting question for me. I have lots of things that I would say in answer, but none of them are very well defined. Like we do this, like I grew up close to so much family that we would end up going to 4 or 5 Christmases every year. Both grandparents were going to go to, obviously we're going to have Christmas at my parents' house. We might do something with an aunt or an uncle. Like there's just a lot going on. And so we didn't do a ton of very specific tradition type stuff. The traditions that I remember are just like the particular food that's made at the different houses. And
was it the same thing every year?
Yeah, pretty much.
Where you went, you knew we're having ham there, we're having turkey here. And
yeah. Like these are going to be the desserts at this house. These are going to be the desserts at that house. And you know exactly how it's going to work out the whole time. The other thing is just, for me growing up, it was one of the only times a year where all of the cousins were together and had just ample time to hang out together. And so you would be in the middle of inventing some game with people that you really enjoyed hanging out with, but you didn't see them all that often. Mm-hmm. So you also have like the confinement of that is actually a spot where a lot of freedom can grow. So you're like, hey, we're going to be here for 2 days. We're not going anywhere else. We're not going to do anything else. This is all we're doing for 2 days. And that always ended up being a whole lot of fun to get to hang out with your cousins and, come up with whatever war game or whatever, we're going to do, whatever you come up with.
Yeah. I remember growing up, we used to cut down Christmas trees for the most part, go to a tree farm, cut it down, take it to the house, decorate it, ornaments, all that. What's your opinion on white or colored lights?
I hate colored lights. I do not like colored lights.
No, I 100% agree.
Green and purple are by far the worst, but pretty much all colored lights I'm absolutely against.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that they should be amber lights across the board.
Just like the nice, not like white.
No, I hate, like white is like second tier, I guess.
Yeah.
But like amber, like warm looking lights.
Warm white.
Uniform.
Yeah.
Everything else I can do without.
100%. So like decorating the tree, hanging stockings. Do you guys do like do you have a nativity scene, anything like that?
No, not at my parents' house. My grandmother has some pretty cool ones actually. They're like white porcelain. Then it's not painted or anything. It's just solid white. And she goes, like both of my grandmothers actually go absolutely all out. So Thanksgiving's over and the next day she starts taking down like fall, autumn stuff. And then their house is under construction for 4 days straight.
Like
and
interior, exterior, everything. Yeah.
Everything. Like she's got containers that she's pulling down out of the shop, then putting all the fall stuff back in. And then those go back into storage. And then all of the containers of, Christmas lights and decorations in the tree, and like every bathroom has its own theme, and like it is elaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember growing up, we had a nativity, and we would, put our little, Batman action figures in there, and, they were there. And one year, my mom's dad gave us each our own one. So each of my brothers have one now that's in our house. Got convinced of Second Commandment violation a couple years ago. So I took Jesus out, but we kept everybody else.
This is just a really cool stable.
Yeah. I mean, you get Mary and Joseph,
Some wise
men, shepherds,
Nice.
Yeah, Christmas Eve candlelight service, was that something you guys did growing up?
It was from time to time. It wasn't a super consistent thing. I remember going to one with my dad's parents at one point, and someone constantly smacking my cousin so he didn't catch the woman's hair on with the fire in front of him. Yeah. And I want to say that there were some also in our local, home church where we were growing up. I remember going to a handful of them. I will say, as a caveat, like, I don't know if it's a football related thing or what, but my memory prior to age 10 is really bad.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad. So like I have vague memories of stuff, but
too many TBIs.
I don't know if it's just like, just smash your head into other people for long enough and you stop remembering things very well. But
yeah, we would always, pretty much every church I've ever been in growing up, we always had a Christmas Eve service. I think this is pretty common, where the last song, Silent Night, you turn off the lights, light the candles. We had one old lady in the church that would hand out like king size Butterfingers and oranges, and that was what all the kids got on the way out, was like an orange and
what a combo,
massive Butterfinger. I distinctly remember that. My family would always do like a Christmas Eve dinner, like after church, before church, to kind of, depending on what time it was. But I don't know when it started, but we did surf and turf, and that was always something to look forward to. It was, nice dinner. We're kind of dressed up for church, and we do surf and turf after the service.
That sounds like a great tradition.
It's one that we've kept doing.
I think we probably should pick up on that.
Like Christmas morning, breakfast, I think most people get up, open gifts, have some kind of breakfast, casserole, something low maintenance, but pretty common. Stockings, I think another really common tradition, where, stocking stuffers and chocolate, and we'd get like toothbrushes and toothpaste because my mom was a dental hygienist, and things like that. But then Christmas Day, at that point, the family would come over, like the extended family. Almost all of my grandparents, aunts, and uncles lived within 2 hours of where I grew up, and so everybody would come. Usually, at some point, it transitioned to our house where it was. So everybody would be there. We'd use the dining room table, and everybody have a big meal, and just the afternoon where like there's not much going on. We play football in the yard, or shoot clay pigeons, or just do something with the guys. It's just remember being like a lot of fun because there wasn't that much going on. Just hanging out with people you don't see that often.
Yep. Very similar for us.
So you said like each family had their own kind of meal plan, and you would know like what to expect. So I don't know if I've told you this, but my mother's side of the family is Swedish. So we inherited a lot of Swedish Christmas traditions. And so everything from, so instead of Santa Claus, have you seen Dwight Christmas yet? I know you guys are working.
Yeah.
So he had the Belschnickel character.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It was called the Yule Tumton, and he's like dressed in fur, and he'd come in and had like a whip and stuff like that. There was no what do you call it? Zwarte Pete. He didn't have a sidekick. But he'd come in and ask in Swedish, "Are there any good children here?" And I distinctly remember that happening on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the food, the food, we have kept some of the traditional Swedish food, the things we like, but it was intense. Like the entire smorgasbord was intense. There was pickled herring, and there was cured salmon and ham and cheese and flatbread and meatballs and kreppkaker. Kreppkaker are good. They are like a Swedish potato dumpling. And a lot of these have become Americanized, where whatever it was to begin with, we just made it better.
Yeah.
So now it's like bacon and onions in a potato dumpling and then fried, and you eat it with like cranberries. Really good. Sausage, pork ribs, desserts. So they made this like rice pudding dessert, and you're supposed to put like a white almond in it, and it was like hidden in the pudding, and whoever got it had like good luck for the year. So when I was little, I was probably too old to be doing this, but I just got a handful of like, toasted almonds and threw them in there. So like everybody got good luck for the year. They had a drink called Glögg, which was like a fortified wine, hot spiced wine served with, it had like nuts and, raisins and stuff in it. And that was a special, drink we had. But then, you've had some of the Swedish Tosca bars or things like that. Vanilla Bulla. Have you heard about this?
I don't know if y'all have made those when we were.
They're
over.
pretty labor intensive, but it's basically like this pudding stack where it's like vanilla pudding.
Oh yeah,
vanilla pudding, and then in this pastry, and then the top is dipped in butter and sugar, and it's really good.
Sounds good.
Really good. But yeah, I remember they would go all out making, Christmas cookies, Russian tea cakes, the peanut butter, with the Hershey Kiss in them, sandwich cookies. And then one thing that was, I don't actually think these are good, but it was a tradition, was the slice and bake reindeer cookies.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't love them, but my brother would eat them by the tube.
I remember eating those, the reindeer, or it's a star, or it's a whatever. And thinking that they were incredible when I was little.
Best cookies a lot. Yeah.
And I had one recently and was like, man, I don't know why I thought these were so good.
They're special. They only get them like one time a year.
It was just that, the yearly thing. But yeah, my grandmother does some similar stuff. So my dad's mom makes this cinnamon streusel cake, and she'll make 2 of them. And one of them is just for me. And so literally it's like the rest of the family, and then
Tate's cake. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause she figured out when I was like in middle school that I really liked it. So, that's at her house. She does some other stuff too, but my mom, my grandmother on my mom's side does basically what'll happen is there'll be an entire spread for breakfast. So you wake up and it's like, breakfast casserole with, crescent rolls rolled with breakfast sausage and egg and that kind of thing. And then there'll be just a giant pile of bacon and, milk and orange juice and is more coffee than a human being should ever drink. Just pot after pot after pot of coffee. But then there's a separate table in their dining room area that is only desserts. And she starts stocking this as soon as Thanksgiving's over. And she's got these big Christmas decorated metal tins that will be full of almond bark pretzels, which are, I could eat like the entire thing in one sitting. Like you go and grab one, and then every 5 seconds you're just walking back
every time
past
you
that
walk
table.
by, you get one.
You grab 3 of them for the road, because you're going to walk around the kitchen counter or something. And those don't last very long. She'll spend a whole day just doing nothing but making almond bark pretzels, homemade fudge. She does a bunch of homemade fudge, and then she also does caramel corn, and it is fantastic. And then I'm picking popcorn out of my teeth for days, but it's worth it. And then she also, I think Destiny's done her chicken and dumplings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she'll usually the night before we'll have something like that, like a giant pot of chicken and dumplings, homemade, and she makes them from scratch, and they're fantastic. So there's always the very particular food stuff. My mom has her own stuff that she does too. She is very into, especially recently, the charcuterie board, but it's like the modified charcuterie board where there's nothing on it that you wouldn't want to eat, like as in vegetables. So it's basically just meat, cheese, and different kinds of crackers or bread, or
I think it was for my sister-in-law's birthday, maybe her 30th. My dad did a redneck charcuterie board, and I don't know what all went on it, but it was like Vienna sausages and like Swedish fish and just like
random
just random
stuff.
stuff. But no, that one sounds better.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. We always do bourbon tastings at my parents because my dad has a bourbon bar and he's got I don't know how many bottles, and we just whatever he's gotten recently that we haven't tried yet, he like lines them up.
Got to try them all.
Yeah, and we get Glencairns out and taste them.
So that's kind of what we grew up with, what fond memories we have. So pivoting here, what traditions do we carry on with our families today? So we'll talk about, of that, what do we keep doing? And then next, like what have we started doing maybe kind of different?
Yeah.
One of the things I got from my dad was they would send out Christmas cards and he would write a newsletter. And they would have different themes every year. Like, I can't remember, but what was the ESPN thing? Like 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one year he did like a 30 for 30 kind of thing and different themes. So we've kept doing that. And basically like sometime in October, November, my wife starts asking like, hey, have you drafted this yet? And so we'll go through the camera roll, try to remember all the things that happened that year. And then just kind of write bullet points and then just kind of just talk about these are the things that happened this year, drop in some pictures. Usually it ends up being about a page front and back, and then put that out with the Christmas card with the picture of the family Christmas card. So we've done that. We've done it every year except the first year that we were married, and that's my biggest regret is not having that year. And we do it for a couple of reasons. We're not big on social media, so it lets all the people that we exchange cards with kind of catch up on what's been going on. But then for us, it might even be a bigger reason, just like documenting family history, what happened. We keep them all in a kind of a photo album with a card and the letter from that year. And it's just nice to be able to go back and read what happened in 2015 and just it feels like not that long ago, and you go back and you read it and you're like, oh, I can't remember. I didn't remember that. And it's just kind of good family documentation for history. Yeah,
we've picked up on this. You guys, after we became friends with y'all last fall, you showed us your catalog of all of your letters that you've written. And I'm like, all right, we got to do this. So my wife helped me put one together. And we sent our first one out last Christmas. It is pretty crazy how meaningful that is to people that have never gotten one before, that know us really well, like some of our best friends.
Yeah.
And you get like really heartfelt text messages in return with like a picture of your card and your newsletter. Like this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
It catches on too. Like, I don't know, like obviously I don't know where my dad got it from, but we've done it. My brother does it. But then you send them to people and then they start doing it too. Like they pick up the tradition, it just spreads. And I think that's a really cool kind of, it's a little bit different than kind of what we're talking about in terms of like Christian holiday tradition, but I think it's a fun thing to do at the end of every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoy it.
Advent family worship. So, this is something that I didn't even know family worship was a thing until I took a personal spiritual discipline class in seminary. So it wasn't something we grew up doing. We would pray at dinner, but like read, pray, sing, like we weren't doing that. So we started doing that. And then in November timeframe every year, what we'll do is we'll pick out a Advent kind of family worship devotional book to go through. And a lot of them would be, every day, 30 days or all the way through Epiphany or however they do them. But we try to pick one out and then we'll send it out to the entire extended family and say, hey, this is one we're doing this year. So like we don't get together and talk about it, but it's kind of the whole extended family is doing the same book every year, and everybody will buy it and just do it in their own home. But that's been a really cool thing. We have probably a dozen that we've gone through over the years, but Founders came out with this one last year. As the Darkness Clears Away. We've both been through this one. It's really good. They have a new edition this year with a red cover. That one's been great. Gibson has a bunch of these. So he has, what's his normal liturgy book called?
Is it the Be Thou My Vision?
Be Thou My Vision. So it's like a normal every one thing a month, but it goes through a similar liturgy to what we do in church, the covenant renewal kind of liturgy. And so it has call to worship and confession of sin and assurance of pardon, and it has scripture reading, and it has catechism, and it has prayer, and it has, all these things. But what's really cool about it, he has this one for Christmas. He has one for Easter. This one's called O Come, Emmanuel. And it brings in a lot of historic Christian things, creeds that we're not that familiar with, Book of Common Prayer stuff. It's got songs in it and Christmas songs and all of that. So I think it's a little bit lengthier, but I think it's another really good one that I like. You could do it every year and it wouldn't get repetitive.
Yeah.
Other than that, Doug has a really good one called God Rest Ye Merry, Why Christmas is the Foundation for Everything. We've been through that one before. It's really good. But I think having something like that for family worship, whether it's after dinner or after breakfast or whenever you do it, can be a really good way to just specifically catechize for that season, going through all the readings and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like having something like that you're following as a plan through Advent. Kind of like we talked about earlier, it helps add to the anticipation factor as you move closer to Christmas.
And honestly, these are like turnkey. There's no preparation, no like.
Yeah, you just open it.
You just open it, do the reading. A lot of them have questions that based on the reading, there'll be a scripture reading or songs in here, but they're really easy to do and they don't take a ton of time.
If you've been struggling to start family worship and make it consistent in your home, I would take the Christmas season as a really, really good opportunity to start with something like this. And it can kind of get the ball rolling and propel you into a more standard, just normal rhythm of doing family worship.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep doing some of the Swedish food. We pick out the things we like because there is so much on that menu that they would put together every year. So much work. So we pick out the couple items that we like. We make those for Christmas Day. We do a sugar cookie competition. So my sister-in-law has a good sugar cookie recipe. She makes them all, plain, and then we have a decorating competition and see who can decorate them the best. And we have a prize and all that. So that's always been a fun tradition. Beyond that, new traditions, some things that we started doing with our family years ago. So, we go to church Christmas Eve, have a Christmas Eve dinner. Now that we're out here, we'll probably have a family or two over for Christmas Eve dinner because so many people are dislocated from their families. So we do Thanksgiving together. We'll do, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Once, the family time is kind of over, but do Christmas Eve dinner, especially probably Christmas morning before we jump straight into opening gifts. We'll read through some of the New Testament narrative on the Christmas story, and I'll let the kids pick, but we'll sing whatever their favorite Christmas carols are, pray, and just kind of like, so it's not an immediate like, hey, it's all about the gifts, and just kind of like reminding the family, this is why we're here, this is what we're celebrating. So that's kind of something we've added. Sometime in the Christmas season, we'll watch old Christmas videos. So we have years ago, my dad took all of these, what were the mini 8 tapes or whatever they were, and put them on to hard drives. And, we all have those now. So we have all these old videos from when we were kids, and my kids really like watching those. And now we have our own, home videos that we'll watch when my kids were younger than they are now. So that's a fun thing that we like to do.
Nice. On that note, you've got Christmas movies in here.
Yeah.
What's your top 3 Christmas movies?
It's a Wonderful Life, White Christmas. I don't even know if I have a third. Like those two. Those are it. I like. I don't know. We always watch like Charlie Brown Christmas. We always watch like the old cartoon Grinch. We like. Again, it kind of goes against the Santa Claus thing, but we watch the old claymation like Rudolph and things like that.
Yeah, the claymation Rudolph is really good.
I like. There's so many A Christmas Carol movies. I don't know if I found like a great one yet, but we like to watch one of those. Kids like Elf. Elf's pretty funny.
Elf is hilarious.
And then there's another animated one called The Star, which is pretty good. It's a told from the animal's perspective, kind of fun Christmas movie. I don't know. We're not like religious about watching through each one of these, but if there's an opportunity to watch a Christmas movie in December, we'll put these on.
Nice.
One thing we started doing, so we got married and then we put up our tree and we realized like we don't have very many ornaments, right? It takes a long time to acquire enough ornaments to put on the tree. So one thing we do each year is pick out an ornament for each one of our kids, put their name on it, put the year on it, and so hopefully when they're adults, they'll have, at least 18 or so ornaments that they can, start their own family with.
We did a bunch of stuff like that in like Sunday school when I was growing up.
like
and
macaroni,
or like I think there's one that literally is just a picture of me in Sunday school in like a Christmas wreath frame or something.
Yeah.
But my mom has this small like wicker tree, and it's maybe 2 feet tall or something, and she has all of the kids, me and my siblings, all of the ornaments that we made when we were growing up. So some of them
they don't go on the main tree. They go on the
special tree.
special tree.
The special tree. She's got all kinds of decorated, like the other tree is gigantic and has all kinds of stuff on it. But that tree has it's the special tree for all of the kids' ornaments.
Have you found your tree yet?
No.
You're gonna have to cut one down this year.
Maybe that would be the first time I've ever done like a live tree. I've
Yeah.
never had a live tree, and like growing up, never done it. So we might have to do it this year because I don't know what happened when we moved, but we can't find a Christmas tree. I swear I did not just throw it away. They're expensive.
They are. Yeah.
I didn't just get rid of it. It's somewhere. I just don't know where it is.
One thing I started doing with my kids, and I got this from somebody else, I can't remember who, but I bought them a tool bag. One, first year tool bag, and then each year I'll give them a tool. And so, we'll just go into Home Depot or something and pick out whatever they don't have that should be in every homeowner's kind of toolbox. And so that, again, when they're adults, they have the basics for, fixing things. And so that's something that's pretty fun every year to just give them a new tool, have them go put in their bag. They'll keep them in the garage. So I like that tradition.
That is a good one.
One other thing we started doing, and this was to kind of get away from Christmas being all about what I'm getting, was we will take our kids to a store like Smith and Edwards, and they'll take their money with them, and we'll have them pick out gifts for their siblings. And they get really excited about this. It's really fun time to really fun to go in December, and we'll kind of split up and say, I'll take, my daughter and say, all right, pick out something for, your brother, and pick out, and we'll do that. And so they get really excited. And sometimes it's like gum or candy or, things like that, but it's something where they can spend their money trying to bless somebody else and just trying to show like, this is actually, what we're here to do is not just what am I getting out of this, but what can you do to bless somebody else?
Yeah. This part is actually the good part.
Yeah.
This part's better.
And just try to get, they get excited about it. And I think that's a really easy thing to do. And just kind of pull the focus away from like navel gazing. Tate, have you ever heard of the Jesse tree?
No.
This is another thing, and they kind of add up, and so you can't do all of it. But my sister-in-law makes these, I don't know what they're made of, felt, kind of handmade felt ornaments, and you can get these books that go along, and basically they go through the whole story of the Bible and kind of show how everything is pointing to Christ. And I don't know where the tradition came from, but it was something we added into our kind of daily Advent family worship time, was pulling out one of these ornaments, whatever the day is, and it might have, a ram on it, and that, and then you read the story of Abraham and Isaac, and then there's kind of some commentary on how this is pointing to Christ. And so that's another kind of fun way to kind of like bring the whole Bible into it as a meta narrative, and another kind of nice tradition. And you have these nice, handmade ornaments from the family. So that's another tradition that's spread to a lot of different families.
That's really cool.
One thing we do as a church, so we do psalm sing every Tuesday night. We do a potluck, fellowship, and then we sing psalms for 45 minutes in the sanctuary. Sometime in December, we skip the potluck and we just meet up downtown in Ogden.
Yeah, because last year we just had dinner at your house and then we went down.
We went down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so whoever comes, it's probably a third to half of the church, probably a bigger turnout actually for this.
Yeah, it's usually bigger than Psalm Sing from what I can tell. Last year was definitely bigger than Psalm Sing.
Big turnout. And it's not a huge number of songs. I think we sing 3 in the doxology maybe.
Yeah.
But ones we've been practicing, ones where, we sound pretty good singing, and we'll go downtown. What I don't remember. It's kind of like just a park area.
Well, the downtown Ogden does like this Christmas village. So they actually have these they're like little shacks set up, but they basically allow someone to enter to win a contest decorating them. So they're all decorated differently. It is almost like driving through a paid for Christmas light like park.
Yeah.
When you drive around the square downtown, there's a lot of lights. So there's like a whole Christmas village theme kind of thing going on. There's like people set up selling hot chocolate and that sort of thing. We kind of go down there and not like jump right in the middle of everything, but find a spot and then sing psalms downtown in the Christmas village.
Pastor Sauvé leads that. It's relatively quick, and then we hang out and drink hot chocolate and stuff. So that's a fun thing that the church does. There's another group that does caroling. Like they've been practicing for several weeks now, and they'll go kind of house to house for people to live in town and just sing a carol. And that's kind of a fun thing they do.
Yep, we've got a whole caroling group. They have scheduled practices. They have like group leaders in their own group chat and the whole 9 yards.
Sweet. Any other traditions we want to start doing? I mean, that's a lot.
There's a lot there. My wife does it's basically like a giant riddle for the entire month of December. This will be, I think, the third or fourth year that she's done it with my daughter. So my son will be involved this year now. But it is, from the surface, it seems pretty like labor intensive. She writes a 25-point custom like riddle basically. And every day she opens the box. My little girl will open, we've got this like it shaped like a house and there's little doors in it. And she opens one of the boxes and takes the clue out. And then she goes around the house trying to figure out the clue. And usually there's some sort of like craft or project that they're going to do together.
Yeah.
Like, right now my wife just got a new sewing machine. So her old one that's smaller is quote unquote Layla's now. Like it's my little girl's now. She thinks it's hers. So they're doing lots of little sewing projects together. And
she's going to be listening to this, be like, Dad, it's mine.
Yeah, actually it's, and that's how she says it. She's like, can you get my sewing machine out? And I'm like, this is not actually yours. You know that, right? But anyways, it's something that she does with her. That's pretty cool. And it's very obvious that my little girl really, really enjoys it. She looks forward to it starting. And it's one of those things that's really good quality time with them just getting to hang out and do stuff together. So
that's awesome. That reminded me, we used to do, have you ever done those advent calendars that's like 25 days and you would open it and get a little piece of chocolate? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We used to do those growing up. I think we've bought those for the kids some years.
So to just kind of reiterate, that's some of the stuff that we've done, some of the stuff that we want to pass on. Obviously, we're going to be doing a bunch of this stuff together to some degree, and there's layers of this. So there's stuff that's just going to be the Sin or the Taylor household, and then there's stuff that we'll do, together, us and you guys and the Garretts or whatever. And I think the layering is actually really important. You have this like continued line of enculturation where it draws not just our children, but our hearts further and further into our people in our place. And we associate more and more with the covenant people that are here through actually doing things together that are very intentional and purposeful. And they're for the anticipation of Christ's incarnation in the world. So that's kind of why we're doing this. But is there anything else that you would want to reiterate to kind of like instill, we think this is good, we think this is part of part of the project of building Christendom?
No, I think this is a huge list. It's stuff we've developed over the years, stuff that works for our family. But I don't think it's meant like it's kind of like the EDC episode where it's like it's not meant to be the end all be all. It's like here's an example of what it could look like, and it doesn't have to be in its final state this year. But why we're recording this in November and it's going to come out before Thanksgiving is so that you can start thinking about these things and be intentional this Christmas season about what traditions you want to start, what do you want to try out, and just put a little bit of thought into it before it's like December 25th already and you're like, where did the time go?
Yeah, because it's really easy to get into that situation.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, as we close out here, I just want to thank all of our members over on Patreon for the support. We are still doing the free Brutal American mug over on the Hardman Patreon when you sign up for the all access membership. So definitely go check that out if you haven't yet. thank you to all the guys that are signed up over there. It's been a lot of fun interacting with you guys. A bunch of the questions that we've answered recently have come from the Patreon. As we do jump into the Brutal American Show, we're going to go through some gift list stuff, and we've got everything from like stocking stuffers all the way up to like what would you get your buddies who are adult guys. So we'll go through a Christmas list over there, some things that we would like to get, some things that we would want to get for, maybe wives or buddies or whatever. And
husbands, send it to your wives. Tell them, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this is exactly, just get this list.
Yep.
The budget, there's no telling what the budget would be.
We even did that though, like break out some different categories for like different budgets and different. I think it'd be helpful of stuff we're thinking about that would be helpful, whether you're a husband or wife or depending on what ages your kids are. There's just different stuff there. So check it out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out. As always, stay frosty, fight the good fight, act like men.